Hi, my name is Dave McCray, and I'd like to welcome you to the premiere edition of Meet Your Town Council Candidates. This is a weekly show we're going to be doing between now and the election, and it's going to be a little bit different than some of the political shows you're going to be watching, in that we're going to have the candidates, but we're going to keep politics out of it. What we're looking for is to bring the candidates forward and have you meet them, almost kind of like a take on the old Up Close and Personal ABC Wide World of Sports Olympic show. So we're not going to be asking people what they think, what their political views are. We'll leave that to someone else. But we want you to get a feel for the individual, what their likes are, a little bit about their family, and just get to know them. Today, I'm very happy to be joined by Mr. Shea, Kevin, and he's going to spend the next 30 to 45 minutes letting us meet him. So, Kevin, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on the show.
All right. Well, as I mentioned before, it's been about 4 years since I've been on TV, so we'll see how this goes. But eventually, I'm sure we'll get it.
Certainly.
Okay, I guess we'll start off with Kevin with where did you grow up?
I grew up right here in Merrimack, on South Merrimack, right off Natticook Road, and my mom still lives over there.
Okay, and did you go to Merrimack High School?
I did. I went to started school in Thornton's Ferry, and came over to Mastricola Middle School, and then I went to the high school here and graduated in 1996.
Okay, and do you have any anecdotes, experiences, or how do you feel Merrimack was as a town to grow up as a young guy? So you grew up in the 80s for the most part, would be fair to say?
That's fair to say, absolutely. Yeah, Merrimack, I love Merrimack, and that's what brought me back. Grew up here and spent some time here even after high school. Moved up into Manchester for a few years, and I traveled a little bit. But when I met my wife and decided it was time to put roots down,
yeah,
and buy a home and start our family, the Merrimack was the first choice, and so we found a property that needed some work, but it was it's where we wanted to be. We liked it, and so that's why we came back.
Great. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about the growing up phase as far as during the summers. How did you spend your summers? Were you a kid on the baseball diamond? Were you out playing your guitar? Or, what were you doing back then, summers and during your free time?
Summers was a lot of fun. I spent a lot of time on my bicycle, and I had a bicycle. I was always tearing up the streets and going down Pennachuck Square. There was I believe there's still a little convenience store there. It's a little different now. There used to be a convenience store, and then Friendly's was down there. So, the friends and I would go down and take our bikes out. We'd ride around the neighborhood. I'd build forts. Summer was just a great time to be outdoors, enjoy the neighborhood. I had a good number of other kids and friends on my street right in that little area where I grew up. So it was a really good time.
Did you ever go to Wildcat Falls?
Yeah, a few times, yeah.
Yeah, that seems like to be a place that all the kids that grew up here hit at least once.
Yeah, I'd been there a small handful of times.
As far as your parents, what kind of values did they help instill in you that you feel has helped make you the man you are today?
My parents they had two different perspectives on values. They were divorced while I was young, and that's probably a lot of them part due to some of their differences in values. But both of them equally as important. So let me start with my father. My father's values were follow your dreams, live for your dreams, go with what your heart is, and just do what you want to do, and the rest will fall into place. And my mother instilled the values of, dreams were nice, but dreams don't always pay the bills. So she put the stability factor in, and the financial, and the fact that you need something more secure and more stable. So I was able to take what both of them gave me, and merge them together, and I have a lot of fun. And I've managed to do it with some security behind me as well.
Yeah, nice balance, really.
It's perfect balance.
Yeah, it's tough if one's all one way or one's all the other.
If you can do what you want to do and follow your dreams and find a way to give it financial security and just stability, that's the way to go.
What kind of student were you, and what were your favorite subjects?
It's going to depend on which teacher you ask. So, you know, I'll tell you, I didn't really like school until I realized that I was doing really good at it. I can remember in 6th grade, I remember coming home and crying to my mother about math class. I didn't like it. Gave me a hard time. And so my mother, you know, met with a teacher and tried to figure out where things were at. And when she came home and she said, you know, Kevin, you're in the highest math program that's offered at your level right now. You're good at it. I didn't know that. Nobody told me that.
Right.
I just knew I was assigned to this class and this is what I was doing. So once I realized that I was good at it, I liked it.
Okay.
English was never one of my strong points. In fact, English was one of those ones. I'd rather get the movie if possible, you know, than read the book. But other than that, overall, I loved, you know, chemistry and such, and I had a really good relationship with our chemistry teacher. So you know, I think overall I was a good student and a likable student.
Oh, good. And as far as high school activities, did you play any sports? Were you in the band? How'd you make the days go by when you weren't sitting in the classroom?
During my high school years, I had started my own magic show. And I started by doing children's parties, fundraisers, events. We actually sold out the little theater at Merrimack High School for the Lioness Club fundraiser.
When you were in high school?
When I was in high school. We did that, and so that took up a lot of my time. I also, you know, in school programs, I didn't do any sports in school. I did marketing, and we had the DECA program at the time, so I spent some time with them, and traveling and doing DECA competitions. But most of my time outside of school was spent developing a magic show.
And is that something you still fiddle with today, or is that kind of in the bottom drawer?
So I do still fiddle with it. What happened was I developed a very large-scale show. I developed a Vegas-style act.
And again, you were 16 years old when you were doing it.
Yeah, I was on the front page of several newspapers in my 16-year-old
Really?
times, and I still have those somewhere in the shed. So I had a good act, and I remember one of the headlines was "Teens Magic is way beyond kid stuff." I love that headline.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool, and so I still have that, but I developed a show relatively quickly. I wasn't, you know, as one person hired me and they said, "Wow, we expected you and your card table. You're not this." I know I had a 24-foot box truck that I would have to rent to do these shows, and so I developed that rather quickly. And then, but I didn't want to leave New Hampshire. I had grown to such a scale that for me to pick up and move and try to make this career happen somewhere else was a real financial gamble, and that's where the sensibility came in. Over the follow your dreams, and I said it's time to get real.
Now, do you still have some of the props in that?
A lot of the large scale items I did sell. I do still have a lot of the small things,
And you still have the ability.
and I still think. In fact, Miss New Hampshire, I was asked to do something for Miss New Hampshire several years ago, and they've asked me to come back this year. Now, years ago I was still performing. I had something to promote, and I was the onstage illusionist at the show. This year, they've asked me to come back. I'm not actively performing. I don't have anything to promote in that aspect, so I'm going to design all the magic. I'm going to make Miss New Hampshire appear and several of the other acts. In addition, I do, if anybody's familiar with the Nutcracker Suite ballet, there's a character called Drosselmeyer, and he's kind of a wacky, kooky magician. And when I first met my wife, she danced for a studio, and they had a Drosselmeyer, and the second year that we were dating, they asked me to play Drosselmeyer. And I redesigned all the magic in the show, and we still do that to this day. This was, I think last year was my 7th season working with the Nutcracker, in designing magic and actually making the dolls and girls appear on stage. So.
Well, once we're done the show, you're probably going to want to mark September 30th down on your calendar. That's the 6th Annual Merrimack Fall Festival Business Expo.
Okay.
And I always wanted a magician, especially one I didn't have to pay for, that was going to volunteer out of the goodness of his heart. And this whole idea of interviewing the candidates is paid off within the first 10 minutes.
It's funny how things fall into place.
Yeah, you never know who you're going to walk
I'll be
into.
just returning from Disney World at the time.
Oh, good. Then you'll be into the whole entertainment thing.
I'll bring Mickey back.
Bring Mickey back. Okay. Next one's going to be tough. It's always tough to single out one thing. And it can be a group of things per se. But what's your fondest memories growing up? When you look back, what just puts a smile that you hope your kids will also be able to enjoy those type of memories?
Well, growing up in where we grew up in Merrimack, it was just a really nice, quiet neighborhood. We had some woods behind the house, and you know, I was fortunate because I think what happened when I was younger, and I don't remember this exactly happening, but at one point they had taken down the deck and put it some sort of a 3-season porch in. So that lumber that was left over was just kind of underneath, and I used to just snag that up and take it out in the woods and build forts. And I get bored easy with the fort, and I'd take it down and I'd build a new one. So I anybody in my neighborhood would know Kevin and his forts that he had.
Really, huh?
I had them all over the place. I had some smaller ones that just went higher, and I had bigger ones that went lower. So I love building forts.
Yeah, that's growing up. That's one thing I had one year with some friends, a tree fort, and it was. Tell you, that's kind of something every kid ought to have.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got your younger days behind us now,
Okay.
and now we're moving up. And I guess we're going to start with, how'd you meet your wife?
This is a good story. This is an interesting story. I mentioned the pageants, Miss New Hampshire program. In 2003, I was asked by one of the local residents, Belinda Bridgman.
Now, 2003, so we're going back 10 years.
We're going back almost 10
Yeah.
years. She was the choreographer and producer of the program at the time, and she had just seen an article about me in the paper, and got this great idea to have magic in the Miss New Hampshire pageant. So they had hired me. Actually, they had asked me to do it. It was a volunteer. Issue there, and so I volunteered to go and design some magic, and I made.
So you were a young single guy getting
beautiful.
to hobnob with the Miss New Hampshire candidate.
That's right.
Hey, you know that.
And my mother actually worked backstage at the program, and she's off trying to get me sold off.
Yeah.
So at any rate, so I made the current Miss New Hampshire appear on stage, as well as at that time there was 17 contestants. So I made all 17 contestants appear on stage, and I was there throughout a series of the rehearsals. And my wife at the time, I hadn't even known her. There was a song that I heard on the speaker system when I was out back, and I had to come out. It was Cotton Eye Joe, and I don't know if you're familiar with the song.
Oh, I love that show. They play them at
crazy.
the minor league games a lot.
Right.
I love that.
So I hear this, and I go out, and there's this beautiful girl in this unitard that with this long curly hair and these beautiful brown eyes, and she's got this little cowboy hat and sparkles on, and she's doing this ballet on point to Cotton Eye Joe, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I got to talk to this girl, and so I did what I thought I could do is, hey, I have this magic show, and maybe you could, and so nothing. We didn't hook up at the time. A few months later.
So you weren't smart enough to realize she's out of your league.
Well, no,
That's always a good trait to have.
I would not accept that. So a few months later, I was, I'd met these girls and I had some connections, and they do volunteering at Gillette Stadium for the games. And you volunteer in the concession stand and raises money for the program. And so I said, you know what, I got nothing to lose. I've got time. I'm going to go down and volunteer. And she was working one of those things, and I just kept flirting, and I did something right. So that's how we met. We started dating, and then we just. We got involved with a lot of things together. Shortly after we started dating, the Manchester Wolves Arena football came to town, and she was on the dance team, and I was the mascot, and so that just kind of carried us. We always were involved in some kind of a large-scale venue together.
Okay, so you meet her. Good-looking woman, fun, nice, wonderful. You're dating her. When the one day does it hit you? This is the one.
Well, those that know me from growing up, and I'm not really shy about telling. I wasn't the kind of guy that set out to get married and have a family. I didn't want any of that growing up. If you had asked me that 10 years ago, I would have said you're out of your mind. It's just the furthest thing from my mind. I didn't want it. I just realized one day that there's something about the way that, not so much how you feel about somebody, but how somebody makes you feel when they're with you, and the way that she loved me, and this was just my feel. I just knew I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't go another way. So, in fact, now this is an interesting story. So when I did know, I took advantage of my position with the Manchester Wolves, and I had asked the general manager. I said, "This is my idea. I want to propose to my girlfriend at halftime on the field."
Yeah, so just you were blitz. I mean, a lot of people watched that. So I mean, let's say
That's right.
you were blitz.
So that's right. So I actually and I said, here's what I want to do. I don't have a lot of money, and I want to can I sell sponsorship to my proposal? So I went to local jewelers, and because I knew that corporate wasn't going to get me anywhere, and I said, listen, I got this great idea. There's approximately 5,000 fans per game. I want to propose to my girlfriend on the field at halftime. I'm really confident in this. This is good. If you can give me some money off the price of this diamond, I'll put your name on the jumbotron at halftime. And they were all into it. They loved it.
Really?
Absolutely. So we had a deal. I buy all my jewelry there now. We have a great relationship. I walk in and hey, how you doing? And go.
So you're not dummy off the street.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
not.
that was a pretty good idea. Now you had to be pretty darn sure. I mean, I've always said those guys that do that takes guts.
Was that the mascot?
No, not that.
Oh, the proposal?
The proposal in front of 5,000 people. I mean.
Well, my uncle who flew in from California, we had a lot of family in the stands. And the ticket department at the Wolves was they gave away a lot of tickets that night for me, and we had I had the stands lined up. There was a lot of pressure.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, at least if my wife said no when I asked, it was just me, her, and a beach of nobody. I'm just saying, if they ever say no, gosh.
And we had it on the news. We didn't even have to send out an engagement announcement. WMUR took care of it for us.
Oh gosh, wow. And she was into that.
Oh yeah, we just I think she knows with me it's a go big or
now,
go home.
did she know it was coming? Did you?
No.
Oh, she didn't.
No,
So
and
it
here's
was a
how
real
I know.
surprise.
The reason why I know that is because the very next day I had to take her to get her nails done. And if she had known that she was gonna have a jumbotron camera and all this attention on her hands, she would have had a manicure. So.
Yeah. Now, since you guys have got married, there's been an addition to the family.
There has. Emmeline, yes.
And how old is she?
She's almost 18 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you're just your whole life is just on the rise.
It is, and it's everything, every avenue, every change, every bend in the road is an experience, and it's a lot of fun. We make the best out of everything. Emmeline was not our first pregnancy. We had some issues, and in fact, we were in Florida when we were pregnant with Emmeline about 8 or 10 weeks in, and there was some complications. And we flew home the next day, and we were scared. We thought we were, my wife was on bed rest for quite some time, and she's a great product of that fragile pregnancy. She came out of it, so she means the world to us. We value and respect the life that she is because of the struggle we went through to get her here.
Okay, well, the questions that I ask, again, I've given you a copy beforehand, and they're going to be similar to a lot of the other candidates. I mean, all the candidates are getting similar questions. But, human beings don't all fit into the same jar. So a question might be good for one candidate isn't going to necessarily be good for you. And so I've come to that question. So I'm going to substitute it, and I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball.
Okay.
The question originally was, as a parent, what advice would you give to young parents just starting out? But you're a young parent starting out, so I'm not going to give you the pressure to tell everyone else how to raise their kids because you're just figuring it yourself. So we'll ask a funner question.
Okay, I can still provide some insight onto that, but that's
no. Let's hear it, and then I'm going to follow it up with my fun question.
So the insight now, as you mentioned, I'm a young father, and I don't have the experience to be giving other parents advice. But I do want to be able to say that as active as my wife Jessica and I were before the pregnancy, we were very active. And in my mind, as naive or stupid as it was, I'm thinking, well, we can still do everything we do now. We're just going to have a kid. We'll just bring her along. And boy, was I wrong. People say that it doesn't have to change your life, but it does, and it will. And that is the biggest impact. Having Emmeline almost 18 months ago, and it's like those last 18 months have just gone by. It's like having a kid. Time goes on a rocket ship, and you really need to be ready. So for maybe not for other parents to take any advice from me, but people who are considering being parents or having, really, you need to be sure. You need to be sure. This is a major commitment, and you got to be in it. You got to be in it to win it, and that's what I have to say about that.
Okay, and again, I'll go with the fun question I thought he was thinking. Is let's fast forward 16 years. So she's 17, okay? She's 17, and you have in the big house by the bay. I mean, things have gone well for you.
Oh.
I mean, things have gone just fantastic.
Well, you've just fast forwarded my life 16
Yeah.
years.
I mean, you even got your own magic studio
Oh,
again. So, anyways, so her first boyfriend or date where the car shows up. And he shows up and he walks in the house and you introduce him. Are you one of those easy guys, or are you a guy that's going to be cleaning your gun when he walks in the door?
Well,
I bet you appreciate me doing this, bringing you to reality.
he's gonna have walked past at least 3 security cameras before he's even got into the foyer. So I may not need to be cleaning the gun, but there'll be one.
Well, again, we talked about what brought you to Merrimack, and you were you didn't have a lot of choice in the matter. You were here, is where you were raised, and then you've come back because you found this was a great place for you to grow up. And
That's right.
I'm kind of answering it because, again, I have these questions in a row.
Well, my wife grew up in Goffstown, and she wanted to live in Goffstown. She's got a much larger family than mine, and her family was a lot closer growing up. I mean, because there were so many of them, she just saw family every holiday. And with me being from a small family with no, the cousins and uncles and stuff weren't local, so we didn't have that type of thing. So for her, she really wanted to be in Goffstown, and it really was, I really had to push and nudge and encourage and persuade her to see the added benefit of Merrimack. And
So you were pitting Merrimack against Goffstown.
oh, absolutely.
Oh, I'm glad to see Merrimack won. I would expect nothing else.
Right. We there was a lot of the same things as far as that location wise that are offered up there that we were looking for, but Merrimack is just it had the right package, it had the right contents in the right order for me as far as that goes. So.
And it had a 15 to 20 minute drive between your in-laws and you.
Oh yeah,
There's something to be said for that.
Well, where we're located in Merrimack, my mother's on the south end, and I'm on the north end, and then so we're right in the middle, and that was a good selling point. We're not any closer to my mom than we are.
Oh yeah,
yours,
there you go. Again, we talked a little bit about sports early, and you were saying you really weren't into sports in high school and that, but what type of hobbies do you enjoy now as a grown-up?
Well, so I like to be involved in a lot of things. So anytime I can get involved, and one of the reasons that led me to become a mascot, let me just back up a little bit to that,
Sure.
is due to that. My wife joined the dance team of this arena football team way before I knew anything about the mascot, and just the way that I want to do things, I don't want to sit in an audience and watch. I want to be part of the show, be part of the production anyway, and make it happen. So I was talking to front office and asked for things to do, and they had suggested, we need a mascot. And I said, oh no, what else do you have? And I tried the mascot and I liked it. But that being said, I like to have a hand in things, and I like to play.
So you'd
a
rather
role.
be doing, not watching.
Absolutely. That's really, those are my hobbies. As a homeowner now, my hobbies, I love mowing the lawn. I love doing the chores. I love doing that. We bought a home that was foreclosed on, and so it needs a lot of work. And over the years that we're doing the work, and I enjoy that. Those are my hobbies: is renovating and repairing.
20 years from now, we'll touch base and we'll see how that lawn mowing's doing for you. Oh, Saturdays. Give me the Saturday in the life of Kevin Shea and his young family.
Well, the young family part has made the sleeping in and taken that out of the equation. So we're up early, and my wife gets the baby ready, and I get the trash going, and I take a ride to the dump, and then this time of year there's not a whole lot I can do outside. So I'll start inside right away, but usually summertime I'll do the yard work and some of the landscape and get the chores out of the way, maybe tackle a small project, and then Saturday afternoons and evenings we try to do some family event. We usually look around and see what's going on, any expos or fairs or any events, and we try to do something as a family.
And Sundays?
Sundays, well, my wife just changed jobs, but she was working Sundays, so Sundays is daddy duty. Daddy-daughter day, and we'd, so.
So she's at the age she's turning into a little person every day.
She calls the shots.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
think somehow when my wife leaves, she asks for all the things that my wife tells her she can't have, and I don't know this until later on. Until one time, my daughter asked me for something when my wife's home, and I go to get it, and what are you doing? She can't have that.
What is it, like a bowl of Twinkies and ice cream?
Oh, this the frosted cookies that she has, and she knows exactly where they are. My wife she's moved them 3 times. I don't know where they are. My daughter knows. So I get home and the excitement of Daddy, she picked me up. So I pick her up, and as soon as I pick her up, the arm goes out, and then as I move, the arm's like a compass. It takes me to wherever she needs to go.
Oh, I'll tell you, the first part of this, I really enjoyed it. I really feel like I know you. And again, we met, don't expect you to remember, but we met, a few years ago when you showed up, you were Blitz.
Right.
So we met for about 8 seconds inside one of the locker rooms
That's
when I
right.
was doing the fall festival. But, we never met since then. And like I say, I feel I've gotten to know you a little better, and I hope the people at home have. And what we're going to do now is something that I'm hoping is a little fun. Again, it's a way to learn more, and we're looking for 1 or 2 word answers to basically some quick questions. And if you want to expound a little bit, by all means, feel free, but don't feel that you need to either.
Okay.
But and I may expound on it depending what the answer is.
Certainly.
Okay. Your first car.
An Oldsmobile Delta 88.
What year was it?
It was a 1986. We named it Merlin.
Oh. What were you getting, like 8 miles per
Oh,
gallon?
I don't know. It only lasts me a year.
And the present car.
An F-150.
Okay. And is that does that have room for the 3 of you, or do you all take the wife's car when you go out?
So the wife has a minivan. That's the baby mobile command center.
Yeah.
And but yeah, the truck has the extended cab. So
You've done good. You haven't wimped out too much then. You've gone from a
no.
Delta 88. You still got a truck, so you're doing all right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Favorite TV show growing up?
Growing up, you know what? I liked Sledgehammer. I don't know if you remember. It was the wacky cop with the printed suits, and he always had that 44 Magnum with a painted handle on it.
Really?
Sledgehammer was his. Yeah, I got an autographed picture sent to me.
Now, was it a cartoon or a
No,
regular?
it was a live show. The actor's name was David Rash. I think he was in a couple of other things.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I was a big fan. I wrote to ABC and got a.
Well, I officially feel very, very old. Because I'm hoping I'm going to understand this now. I realize.
There was Dukes of Hazzard was all part of that era.
Yeah,
and, Dukes
okay.
of Hazzard, Street Hawk was another one that was kind of
Yeah,
on.
no,
Yeah.
I know what I'll be doing on Google when I get home tonight. Favorite TV show now?
We like Last Man Standing, Tim Allen's new show.
Oh, really? I've watched that 1 or 2 times. He's done good with that, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels to his Home Improvement series. Same idea.
Favorite movie ever?
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, yeah.
Chevy Chase. That doesn't get old. We watch it actually a couple times a year now. During the
Really?
holiday season.
My favorite movie is also a National Lampoon one, is Animal House.
Oh, I don't know if I've seen that one.
Oh, I love that's the movie with John Belushi and all that. It's evident you're a lot younger than me. Because if you were close to my age, you would have seen that was the movie back then. Last movie you and your wife saw?
It's been a long time. I actually had to ask her about this because I didn't remember. What movie we saw, and it was Jim Carrey's Christmas Story, Christmas Carol, the Charles Dickens one with Jim Carrey. We saw that in the theater.
Because you realize for the next 7 or 8 years, anytime I ask that question, the answer will be a Disney movie.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, first job.
Market Basket. I was a grocery bagger.
Did you learn something? They say everything you need to know in life you can learn it in kindergarten, and they also say that about bagging groceries.
That was one of the Market Basket's one of the best companies to instill a good work ethic in somebody. I was making minimum wage bagging groceries and shagging carriages in the parking lot. My friends were taking the easy life with mall jobs and making a lot more. And in Market Basket, anybody that I've ever met that's worked there, I got to say that they've got a good work ethic.
I remember when I was in college, there was a book I read, and I've always remembered this little part in it because I found it very intriguing. The guy was talking about a study he did of going to the store and watching kids bag, and that he could tell how successful that kid was going to be in life by how he bagged. That there were a few different types. There was the one that just figured, hey, that isn't going to get any quicker to me than it can go. If I don't bag it, they'll just have to stop the conveyor.
Oh, yeah.
Then there's the guy that can't get there quick enough.
Absolutely.
And then there's the guy that's just kind of there. But he said you can, You take a 15-year-old kid, and I'll tell you what work ethic he has. And when you go to a store, you see that every day. I mean,
Absolutely.
and I'm looking for it because I always remember the equation. Your current job, we haven't quite gotten to that.
I'm a technical trainer for a company that does in-building wireless systems. So we do, with schools and hospitals and any sort of a corporate building, any building for that matter, where your wireless devices don't work. My company, there's two parts of the company. There's a product division and the service division. We manufacture products that help make cell phones work, and we install and service those. And I started as an installer and worked my way through, and now I'm a technical trainer.
So you're training them in the field? Would that be a correct statement?
A little bit of both. We're in developmental training as far as e-learning. We do e-learning. We do training, webinars and PowerPoint presentations. And yes, we will take it out into the field. And on occasion we have so far. This is a new initiative that we've developed. We've identified a need on a national level that our technical partners and installers out there need some technical guidance. And so I've been tasked to bring it to them.
Okay. Favorite musical artist growing up?
This is an embarrassing one, but I'm not going to lie to you. Michael Bolton.
Really?
And I don't know if my friends would ever tell you that because they probably didn't know it, but my mother and my sister
They may not be your friends
would
after
tell you.
this episode airs.
Oh, I know, right? You win some. I don't want to lie about it.
Oh, no.
So I had Michael Bolton's CD and I would blast it, the music, and I'd pretend. And my mother was dating a singer. And he's like, how can you listen to that? That guy's voice, it makes my throat hurt, he says. But that was, it's embarrassing.
All right, now let's see how far you've come. Your favorite musical artist now?
Oh, I listen to a variety of things. I think, you go to the iTunes, and I think I've got Daughtry and Nickelback and that kind of stuff going on there now. I like Rob Thomas.
So a little bit. Do you like the oldies at all?
No.
I know. I'm stuck in 1970.
Yeah.
If they've made a song since 1980, no one's told me about it yet.
Yeah, and I like some of the top 40 stuff. A lot of the dance mixes because my wife was a dancer for so long. That's just I really get fired up. I hear that stuff and I start. So that kind of I do like that kind of music.
Did you get to keep the Blitz unit?
I did. I did. The team, the league folded.
Right.
And when the league kind of redeveloped, the closest team was like Chicago at the time, and we weren't developed to be a flight league. We could. It wasn't in the budget. We wanted to bus the guys to the games, and if we had joined the league at the time, we would be flying everywhere. So the ownership group was kind enough to say, I've dedicated 6 years of my life to doing this, and pretty much every weekend. I was doing some sort of a different charity or promotion for the team.
Sure.
And, so they gave me the suit, in addition to the inflatable tunnel that the players run through.
Oh, really?
So if you're driving by my house on one of my daughter's birthday or the baby shower, you would have seen the wolf with pink balloons, which my wife discourages every time, but I always get it in there.
So you got all kinds of gadgets for this Merrimack Fall Festival Expo.
Good thing I've got the F-150, right?
There you go.
Truck to load it up over there.
Favorite athlete growing up?
Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge came to MVP Sports, if you remember that.
Yeah.
He was always there. So he signed my basketball, and he was my favorite. I don't have that basketball anymore.
Favorite athlete now?
Tom Brady. Without a
Can't
doubt.
go wrong with Brady.
No, I love Tom Brady.
And we're coming to a closure here on the lightning round. I'm not sure if this was kind of more like a slow-moving storm.
We didn't
to
really
the
lightning. It wasn't as.
That's all right. It was more fun that way.
You can't shut me
I
up.
told you, this is the first, and people have been trying to shut me up for 10 years, so that ain't going to happen. Favorite book that you read?
Favorite book. You know what? Probably one of growing up would have been the Mark Wilson Course in Magic. It wasn't really a novel book, but it was a book. It was probably my favorite. Yeah.
And the last book you've read?
My big animal book. I think it was my daughter's. That was
I knew that was. I was willing to put money on that one.
Yeah, it was. It was the ones with the pictures, and you point and what does a lion say? Roar. There. It's just like,
Well, as we're getting, I won't say we're ready to close it, but we're beginning to knock on the door.
Okay.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the future, and I'd like to have you say a little bit about, your personal goals, but at the same time, if you could wrap it into your bucket list.
Okay.
Things that you hope to do before it's all said and done.
Well, I think I can wrap it up into that really well because I think that I think I'm doing my bucket list as I go. You know, I'm one that seizes an opportunity as I see it, and so that the need to write something down hasn't really occurred because I accomplished it as I want it. When I was young, you know, magic was one of my first things I really liked, and I'd set out to meet David Copperfield. And when I was 14, I met him, and then, you know, so it just was taught to me very young that if you want to do something, that what's stopping you? Just do it. So I've done things, you know, I've seized the opportunity to become a mascot, to put myself in positions, you know, to do magic on the grand scale, the opportunity to run for a public office. These things that would be a bucket list, I'm going to check them off as I go. So that's kind of where I go. And
so you're saying there isn't as much a master plan as there is that as it feels good, do it.
There's a basis to the master plan. There's always I always fight hard and work for what I believe in. I've got some strong values and a foundation that there is sort of an end goal. And that changed when I had my daughter, because I would have told you a few years ago that I would have loved to jump out of a plane. And I'm not afraid for myself anymore, but more or less my daughter now. So I don't know if I would say that same thing now.
Yeah. How about traveling? Any countries you'd like to go to?
Love to travel. I'd love to go to Ireland. Ireland's something that's interesting. I'm not sure. I didn't really do too good in the foreign language department, so I don't know if I want to go anyplace just yet that doesn't speak English. But Ireland seems like a lot of fun. Mexico, I don't think I'd make it. I don't know if there's enough sunblock to keep me in Mexico for any sort of period of time. But yeah, Europe's good. Europe's something I want to see.
Where do you hope to retire?
I think someplace I want to stay, not too far from where it's happening, but just far enough that nobody's going to bother me on a daily basis. I want to see, I want to see retirement as just a way to relax and enjoy my time. And depending on how much my family grows and where they end up is really going to dictate where I end up. If so. It's the location to be determined.
Okay, and we'll segue into where you end up, because in the end we know where we all end up.
That's right.
So when it's all said and done, and you're over at Revay's or wherever else, and they've done their thing and planted you in the ground or spread you over the Natticook, whatever they do, and people are having their cold cuts and a couple of beers, and they're talking about old Kev. How would you like to be remembered? When it's all said and done, how would you like people to think of your time on this earth?
I want to be remembered as a good husband, a good father, somebody who made a difference, and somebody who fought for what he believed in. Because, people who know me know that where there's a will, there's a way, and I usually am very determined to get what I need, and it's always in the best interest of others. There's a lot of I make a lot of selfish decisions. Unfortunately, those selfish decisions are the same selfish decisions that benefit other people. So, it's always in the best interest of others. And it's somebody who, like I said, fought for what he wanted and just was an overall made an impact on the positive side.
Great. Well, I'll tell you, I've really enjoyed our time today. And do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I don't think of anything that comes to mind now. No, I enjoy living in Merrimack, and I'm glad I came back.
Oh, great. Well, again, we'll be bringing each candidate about, and your names will be on the ballot on April 10th. And I'm sure between now and then, people will see you on TV and see your candidates night, and they'll get a feel a little more for the political side of you. But again, today, our job was to get people to meet Kevin Shea.
That's right.
And I like to think we did all right.
I hope so.
All right. Well, Kevin, thank you very much, and good luck on April 10th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. And I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to tune in. And again, between now and the election, we will have different candidates on. Next week, I believe it's going to be Tom Mahon, and I could be wrong here, but I think it's Mike Malzone. And in fact, I take that back. The way we're running it is we're doing separate shows, but we're airing 2 shows per weekend. So actually, Kevin's show, and Kevin will be airing the same time Tom Mahon does. So you'll be seeing Kevin and Tom during that week. But thank you very, very much, and till next time.